All right. Shalom. Shit, this volume is correct. All right. Shalom. All right, we good. All right. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Happy incoming Sabbath. Almost there. Uh, tonight's topic is the lily amongst the thorns. The lily amongst the thorns. So, you know, we're gonna start off in Ecclesiastes 7. I think one thing I'm one thing I can say I'm noticing. Well, everybody should notice is on a massive level. If you like, if you're in the obviously, if you see this class, you're in the truth. Or if you're not, hopefully you will be. You consider yourself to be in due time. Um, one thing should be clear at least. If you're not a let's say a person's a what do they call it, a conspiracy theorist, right? Or you're not a person that believes anything that so-called Israelites are saying nowadays. Um, one thing I was always interested to ask people when you're on the street is like, what do you think is happening? Do you have like a answer for war? Do you have an answer for what seems to be the end? Well, it, the end of um, U.S. homogeny. What what is your what is your explanation for what's happening to the world right now? And most people you talk to don't really have an answer, but they one thing that's pretty clear or evident is that this place, it seems to be, the fabric of reality is kind of tearing apart at the seams. Everything that we've known to be normal, everything that we've known to be uh normal is pretty sliding scale. Depends who you're talking to, but what seemed to be normal and something that everybody agreed upon seems to be completely flipped upside down, and the things that are completely odd and out of character for society as a whole is the norm now, right? I seen one of the brothers had put up a video of a this guy had to have been like maybe 6'2", um, darker than me. I would say really dark skinned brother, but a brother leading a cheerleading squad, and he's walking around the track, and he's got his little his jersey on with a little outfit or whatever they have for. You would hope it was probably the same materials as track and field, but he's wearing a cheerleading outfit, and then you have white girls behind him, and he's you know leading the charge and doing all this feminine crap. And typically a person that seems to be somewhat level-headed, even if you were a person on the other side of the fence and you're just like, I don't really care about you know the gay pride is the whole month. I don't really care about none of that, as long as they don't bother me. But it seems to be, at least even if you are not a person that seems to be kind of detached from it, or you try to be, though it seems to be impossible to do that now. If you want to be detached from it, it seems to be a concerted effort to heavily push this in all facets and all directions that they can to get this to look like the norm. And a lot of people are buying in. But what you're seeing is, simultaneously as these things are pushed, society is slowly, slowly tearing apart. And one thing that's heavily clear, or should be, is that order is something that you can't really escape. It is a reason why it talks about the commandments or life. Because if you put those away, you realize if you remove those things, um, there is no society that can be had. There is no continuation of life. There is no, selfless individuals walking amongst us. Even if somebody were to say that they were, then they're probably going to reiterate or point out things that they do that come directly from the scriptures anyway. It's not like these people didn't build this world, the creation and society. But one thing is clear: the order has to be had, or else you have mass confusion. We were just talking about this last week about the Tower of Babel. And it's very interesting as this is becoming more and more evident, and as the creation is operating a certain way, obviously, as we're part of it, the creatures are going to be affected as well, right? So, order is a must, a needs in all facets of society, in all facets of life. You can't, it won't function properly if you don't have these things. And these are down to every level of example you can think of, from the sky to the things on the ground, under the water. It's always interesting that the highest level of intelligence is always the one that's out of order the most. So let's open up with Ecclesiastes 7. Um, Ecclesiastes 7 and 23. Verse 23, it says, "All this have I proved by wisdom. I said, I will be wise, but it was far from me. That which is far from me, and exceeding deep, who can find it out? I applied my heart to know, and to search, and to seek out wisdom, and the reason of things, and to know the wickedness of folly, even of foolishness and madness." Interesting. So Solomon lived a very interesting life. Some would, if you could look at the situation from different perspectives of his life, a lot of brothers would probably opt in to take that position, even though the outcome led to disastrous things. But that's the typical life that most dude to dude, guy to guy, most guys want to live that life. The money, the fame, the smart intellect, the women, right? Solomon had all this understanding and all this knowledge. But one thing in particular took him away, right? So Solomon said, I took all this concerted effort to figure these things out, the reason of things, I apply wisdom to everything. And out of the vast things that I've seen on the earth, and the things that has come into Solomon's life, he says this, verse 26, "And I find more bitter than than death, the woman. I find more bitter than death, the woman, whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands as bands. Whoso pleases God shall escape her, but the sinner shall be taken by her." Now that last part, hopefully we'll come back to it, is very critical. But Solomon's giving his explanation on he's been through and dealt with many women, a plethora from all levels, all nations. Solomon had engaged in this fornication and all these different things that he was doing. And he got to know a lot of women. He said out of all the searches and all the things that he knows and the wisdom that he's been equipped with and all the different things that he's explored, I find more bitter than death. Death itself, the woman. Right? Verse 27. "Behold, this have I found, saith the preacher, counting one by one to find out the account." All these different things that he's in a process of figuring out, right? Or doing his, I don't want to say, I guess you can call it due diligence or gaining experience, maybe in the wrong things. But nonetheless, it's still there. Verse 28, "Which yet my soul seeketh, but I find not. One man among 1,000 have I found, but a woman among all those have I not found." Now, Solomon touches on a particular thing in a particular unique nature about women. This isn't obviously, because this is the two sides to the yin and the yang, right? And if correct, this is focusing on the yin. So uh this isn't an isolated thing per the female, but understanding the way things are moving today is a great example. And the absence of order shows you how bad things can become with particular creatures on the earth, specifically the woman Solomon is talking about. This isn't all women. Why would it be? Because all women aren't wicked. That doesn't make any sense. But Solomon gives you an insight and an interesting take on the nature of females. If you don't operate or be equipped with this level of knowledge, you will crumble. It's the reason why the Lord, Solomon's saying in verse at the end of verse 26, those that please God shall escape her, but the sinner shall be taken by her heart, her mind, snares, traps being set up, right? All women aren't like this, but it's an interesting take, because all women have the capability of this. Same thing for the opposite gender. Men have the same thing, but we're focused on the women, right? Let's go to Romans 8. We're not going to be too long tonight. At least I don't think so. Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8. Let's start at verse 18. It says, for I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us, which is crazy in itself. Because this is there's a reason, there's a reason when the scriptures talk about Christ was saying that the time will speed up for the elect, right? Or these are quote unquote the last days. It is very interesting how you look at the phrasing of those sentences and the terminology. It's interesting once you start peeling back the layers. Like, why is it the last days? Well, this, as bad as it is, it has to end. There has to be. That's why I say when you talk to somebody on the street, Shalom says happy Sabbath. When you talk to somebody on the street, it's fascinating that they don't have an answer, even though they look at you like you just boo boo the fool. Like, I can't believe you believe in a book, or a white man wrote that. I can't believe this. You getting taken by these different things. People have overcome that. There's deficiencies. The book is false. This has been falsified. This has been copied 1,000 times over. Blah blah blah. If once you understand how the scriptures play out, and you understand step by step, and you can start to look into history a little bit, it's impossible to write this book. It is impossible to write this book without the Spirit of the Lord. It's impossible. But a person wouldn't understand that if they don't know what they're talking about. They're still saying things like, only Christ can judge me. You can't judge me. That's a very novice statement or response to somebody when you're having a dialogue about the scriptures. That's how you can tell someone know what they're talking about. But this is the things that people say. But there's a reason why these things, the terminology goes out. As the earth itself in this time is starting to pass, certain creatures, devils, the nature of people start to shift in the worst direction possible, right? Or in a position where, which would coincide with this, a particular point in time where sin's just high, but collectively, this is all working together as it's getting raised and pushed up to the feet of the Lord. So it's crazy that the scriptures say in Romans 8 and 18 that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared to the glory which shall be revealed in us, because it's crazy because you can't really fathom, you can't wrap your head around what the kingdom's like. But I understand how bad this is right now. So it's crazy to make that statement to this suffering it's not even comparable to the greatness that will be revealed in the Israelites, which is wild, because that must be some high level greatness, because this place is finished. This is, I mean, this is bad. It's going to get worse, but if this is a small picture or a small sample size of how bad it can get, can't be too much time extended because there wouldn't be nothing left, right? Verse 19. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willing, but by reason of him who have subjected the same in hope. So the creature itself has become subject to vanity, complete, efficiently moving at 100% smoothly in the opposite direction of what God wants it to be. Like complete evil. If the Most High wanted everything to work on the left side, it's going down the right. It's complete. It's like traffic, two lanes, opposite sides of a median. The Lord wants things to work this way, and these last days is going this way, right? The creature is subject to that because it started up all the way back with Adam and Eve. So you're watching the culmination of how bad sin can get. Like the scriptures talk about in Matthew 6, I think it talks about when you have the light in your eye, how much of that light can fill up a person's body. But when that light is darkness, it can get bad beyond belief. And that's what the time we're in and approaching or ascending to, if you will. That's how bad it's getting. So the creature is waiting. Excuse me. The creature is subject to vanity, not willingly, but by the reason of him that hope is, because the Most High has set it up this way. In the time when Christ comes, the first time he died, we have a new way back to the Father. But since this has Adam has sinned from the jump, the Lord has done this in the hope that the creation is going to turn correctly on its head, and that the peace of the ones that want to repent is going to show itself. It's going to prove itself. Right? It's going to take, as we're seeing from the beginning to the end, it took a massive amount of time. But the Most High said it so the pathway can still be open to those that want to repent and serve the Most High willingly. Verse 21. Because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. So this creation, everything you see is upside down or backwards, right? This is not working the way it should be, and we're seeing how bad it can get on the flip side. So I'm gonna give you an example, right? Because it's talking about the creature subject to vanity, depravity. Uh, every time I mean, almost every day I turn something on and I see some parent kill their child. All kinds of different things that people are doing with their family members. Is people just it's just the cold nature of the world that we live in now, right? And it's come down to the ones that are supposed to be the highest level of intellect, which is us. It's just humans across the board, above animals and stuff. But you'll see how that starts to funnel its way down. I'm gonna show you an example from the creatures itself, right? Subject to vanity. Go to Isaiah. Go to Isaiah 11. We had kind of a couple weeks ago. We had kind of briefly talked about this. Um, Isaiah 11. I'm gonna start at verse 5. I'll just read verse 1. Verse 1 says, just to give you a kind of a understanding of what it's talking about. Verse 1 of Isaiah 11:1 says, "And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots." So, just to set the scene, we're talking about future prophecy about Christ coming out of that lineage, right? Jesse was King David's father. You see that is the line of Judah. That line of Judah goes down to the side of the kings, down Solomon's line, and you continues there until Christ is born. Kicking off in Matthew 1, his lineage, right? So this is just setting the scene for a future prophecy. But this is interesting because he's coming, but there's things that are, when Christ comes, he's setting the creature back to its original order, right? That's what it's supposed to be. But right now, it's not. So one part's talking about Christ coming. The other one's talking about when Christ sets everything back in order. I'm going to jump down to verse 5. It says, "And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins," which happened when he was walking, but will happen with force when he comes back. Verse 6 is the culmination of everything kind of correcting itself. The creature being not subject to vanity anymore. Verse 6, "The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb," which is not real. Like, as far as we can understand, that's not stuff that happens. "And the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall feed, and their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox." I had mentioned a while ago that somebody had said something to me on Facebook about how he used the example of, I don't know if I mentioned this before. Noah. Oh, you can tell Noah and the ark in the story is fake because what did the lions eat if they were on the ark? And then he was like, "That's how you can tell it's fake." And then he tried to screenshot a picture where it talks about the lions. You can see a lion like sucking in from his spine. Like that's how like starved he was because he didn't have anything and he refused to eat grass. And he was like, "Lions don't do that." And I'm like, "Well, this is how that again. This goes to like the like a it coincides with like a novice conversation when a person says something like "you can't judge me." It's along the same lines. People don't understand that the creature itself is subject to vanity. Everything's off. So that's fine if you pull up a line to say something like that. But in this time, it's going back the way it should be, which was the original nature of it. Right? It's just as bad as it is out here. Everything's upside down. So when the time comes, the lion will do that. The lion will eat grass, won't refuse to do it because the nature of it's kicking in. But it's got to get bad. Verse 8, and the suckling child shall play on the hole of the asp, which is a snake, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice den, which is ridiculous. Another thing, another snake. No kids is playing in no snake hole. Verse 9, they shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. So even this goes right back to the point of what do you think's happening? If you're saying this is fake, why are you what's your understanding of why these things are happening? That knowledge of the Lord is completely removed and you see what the creature is doing without that knowledge, right? So this chaos is happening. When Christ sets everything in order, it's going to go right side up. The animals are going to go back to their nature. But the animals right now, let's go to Sirach chapter 39. I think it's 39. Sirach. Yeah. Yeah, Sirach 39. Sirach 39 and verse 28. It says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. So the Lord's helping you to helping to explain why things are happening and what they were created to do in this time. Because if the creature itself or the ones that's supposed to be running the creation are out of order, what do you have in place to correct it? Judgment's got to come, right? The way the Most High set things up, you don't know righteousness without wickedness, right? If you say something's righteous, then obviously at the exact same time, the opposite of that is wicked. These things work in tandem. So there's spirits created for different things like this. Verse 29, fire, hail, and famine, and death. All these were created for vengeance. You can just go right back to the story of Exodus. All these things showed up. The Lord said these things are made for vengeance. Verse 30, going right back to the creature itself. Teeth of wild beasts, scorpions, serpents, and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. So the animals are acting a particular way because the creature has been made subject to vanity, right? Verse 31, they shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is. And when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word. Therefore, from the beginning I was resolved and thought upon these things and have left them in writing. So when the Lord snaps his fingers and says, hey, tornado, appear, run through this city and destroy all these houses and businesses. The Lord is the Lord over his creation. It's going to do it. The Lord speaks things, it happens. The Lord puts a spirit on a lion. That clown dude that was climbing over the cage, go rip his leg off, right? It's going to go do that. Same thing with Daniel in the lion's den. Them lions ate every day. And all of a sudden, Daniel's thrown into the den, and lions sit opposite from him, calm, and don't touch him. And as soon as the Daniel's removed, the Nebuchadnezzar throws the guys in there, I think it was magicians and stuff that couldn't interpret the dream, or no, the ones that made the ones that told him he was praying and not bound down to the idols. As soon as they were thrown in there, the lions ate him up and tore him apart. So these things are controlled by the Lord, and these things have spirits on them, but the natural nature of them is not supposed to be like that. But again, the creature has been made a particular way because of the curse. Since these things happen, now those things go down to the exact same situation of the people itself. It will have to, because we ourselves are a part of creation, right? We're a part of the creature. Adam himself was taken from the ground. The ground was cursed. We're attached to that, so we're cursed as well. You got to till the soil. You got to die. You got to struggle. You got to get cavities. All these different things are happening because the creature has been made subject to vanity. And then they come up with their own process in their mind, all these different things that they do, opposite of the Most High's word. So everything has a nature to it, right? You should be able to anything operating outside of it, whatever example you want to use, anything operating outside of its nature should throw up red flags to you, right? You see, America's probably just too on the nose, but it's a perfect example, right? You don't when you see uh when you see every 4 years somebody floods your communities or your neighborhoods, and they tell you that the intent of it is for you to vote because we have your best interests. We're concerned about how you're living. What do you suggest that we do because we politicians work for you? That's Esau acting out of his nature, right? It's the it's like when you cut on a commercial on the television every other day. What's the one after COVID? I don't know if y'all ever seen a commercial. The little tag slogan they have is, "If you have COVID, get Paxlovid." Just another pharmaceutical drug, and they change the voice, and then they say, and they speed up the talking. Side effects: death, insomnia, vomiting, uh, uh, diarrhea, all these different things they speed up at the end. None of this stuff is to help you. You shouldn't think when you see these commercials and people are standing on with their white lab coats, they're doing this because they're concerned about people's health. That's them telling you that is them operating outside of the nation. They don't care nothing about that. They don't care about that. Somebody giving you stimulus packages. Oh, we want the economy. We understand you're struggling. We want the economy, the economy to pick back up. So we're going to give you free money. That's Esau acting out of his nature. They don't tell you that, and on the same time, when they have COVID, they shut down, they've collapsed all these small businesses. They don't care. They never did. That's them acting outside of their nature. So red flags should go up for you when you see them talk or communicate or move like this. It doesn't make any sense. The lions, the animals, the snakes, they do the exact same thing, right? The only way the only way you see things operating in the full essence of what it's supposed to do is inside the confines of its role, its nature, and the way it's supposed to operate, right? So you have, because you might have like a cheetah, right? A cheetah can hunt, right? Just like all the other animals. But nobody, it's not magnificent that the cheetah hunts. The cheetah is known for its speed. If it loses its speed, it's like, why we call it a cheetah? A lion is known to be the king of the jungle. But if he loses his teeth or he's old, he's not the same thing anymore. He can't just go outside of his nature and start doing something else. He's not glorified for that. All these things are magnificent in their order. It has to be in their particular order, or else things are jacked up. So it's the same way you might see same sex relationships. Okay, yeah, men can be glorified, but that's against his nature. That's odd. It's completely opposite of what the Most High want. Men and women operate the same way, right? So, and you have a big thing now where you have I don't it doesn't matter where you look at. I don't know if First Timothy 4 applies to this or not, but it sure sounds like it. Like doctrines of devils in the last days and forbidden to marry, right? I don't know how far people are into like um looking at marriage rates or um what's the term? I forgot the term, specific term for it, but it's a replacement rate. People are talking about births going on, how many divorces are happening. You see this war going on between men and women. A lot of it's going back to just the feminism is just feminism is a special kind of beast because it plays perfectly and it panders to women in a particular way, and women are different. Like, this is the reason why, like Solomon was saying, I've out of all the things that I found nothing more wicked than a woman. And again, that's not just all women, but there is a significant difference between men and women. Maybe the dude made a comment a long time ago and said that there's a reason why. It was actually a woman that said this. There's a reason why you don't see Eve roaming around by herself. She's never been absent of Adam. Adam's always been there. He was made first, and then Eve comes because she was meant to be ruled over. That's the way it has to be, or else things are out of order. Once you start separating them things and they start to become divisive or somebody fighting over somebody else's role, then you have chaos. Chaos just ensues. Same way I was talking about same-sex marriages. None of that stuff makes any sense. Chaos is just going to ensue. What chaos would happen from a man and a man? Well, probably diseases, probably can't have children, all these weird things that happen, right? It's against that nature. The Most High didn't create things. These things work in unison with each other, right? Let's go to Sirach. Where are we in Sirach, right? Jump over to 42. Chapter 42 and verse 22. It says, "Oh how Sirach 42 and 22. Oh how desirable are all his works, and that a man may see even to a spark." If you can see the genius in just the smallest things the Most High made, this is genius level stuff. Verse 23, all these things live and remain forever for all uses, and they are all obedient. All obedient. All things are double one against another, and he hath made nothing imperfect. One thing establishes the good of another, and who shall be filled with beholding his glory? So the way that the Most High made this thing is like the coming down from the creation itself, from the animals down to the intelligent ones that's supposed to be running this thing. Men and women are in opposition to each other a lot today. A lot. This is the reason why you'll see these, like I mentioned, about this replacement rate just dropping, the marriage rates plummeting, divorce rates high. All these different things are happening because people don't know their natural order. Everything's jacked up. And everybody thinks, most people will tell you nowadays, why feminism was mentioned. Feminism is a particular beast. Because if you feed it to a person and people think that they're just, men and women are just these interchangeable widgets. A man can do what a woman can do. A woman can do what a man can do. It doesn't matter. You can do anything. Nobody's stronger than somebody else. Nobody has the capability to lead nobody else. I don't need no leader. I don't need none of this stuff. All these different things are going to cause chaos. And they're trying to fight even the down to the natural biological nature of that person and the uses that come with them. It's chaotic. So you're going to have a system like America, right? And I'm going to get back to the feminism force in a second. Let's go to Susanna, the story or the history of Susanna. For those that I don't see this pulled too many times. Those that have read it are familiar with it. Those that haven't might not know what a book is. So it is after, you might not know what that is either. It is after cinematographer, after Baruch, after the three holy children, you will hit the history of Susanna, right? So let's start at verse 1. There dwelt a man in Babylon named Joachim, and he took a wife whose name was Susanna, the daughter of Chelcias, a very fair woman, and one that feared the Lord. Now, if people aren't familiar with Susanna, just think of her in the same length or the same limelight as is a Judith, right? Highly righteous sister. Highly righteous sister, right? A beautiful sister, one that feared the Lord. So this is the reason why I said earlier when we started off, and Ecclesiastes 7 about Solomon, and I found nothing more bitter, even death, than a woman. Susanna wouldn't fit this block, right? That's how you know it's not talking about every woman on the planet. It's not what it's talking about. But there's a weird thing with how the Most High made women, and if the recipe isn't right or something's off, that thing can go massively haywire. This is the reason why we start off looking. But again, one is not absent from the other, right? The Most High made man first. Of course, Adam screwed up. Of course, it all starts with everything that you can look at is going to fall on the shoulders of a man. All of it. It's not to say somebody's absent of blame, but it's all going to come back to the man. The only way that they're going to fall with the man is going to work with the man. But men need to understand that first and foremost, because you need to understand your position. You have to. If you operate outside of it, chaos ensues. But the flip side is also true, because if you're not on your square, then Eve happens. Some guy comes along and says something slick, like feminism. Hey, you can be a god too. You can do this too. You can be equal too. And the way sisters or women are made, they have this inclination to lean towards things that are phrased a particular way, and they fall for it. That's why they're different. It's dangerous. And they have to be nurtured in a particular way. It's why men and women are not just the same. That doesn't make any sense. So Susanna is a righteous sister. Now watch these little, you can use these, somebody be like, this is not interesting. To me it is. Everything in the Bible, you can use these little pieces to look at society and plug them in and be like, okay, well this is missing, probably why this is chaotic. This is missing, probably why everything looks the way it does, right? Verse 3-4, we're going to hit verse 3 for a particular point. Her parents also were righteous and taught their daughter according to the law of Moses. Now, this is one thing that should stick out to people. As you're seeing, this is the reason why Esau did what he did. The Willie Lynch letter, right? It says that her parents, plural, were there to raise her in the law of Moses. Now, were they interchangeable? No. But those two sides of the same coin have particular roles. Sisters have a one particular role. Fathers are very important in this process. There go. When you wind up taking a situation and having a society that we see now, and what did they say from this? I think it was from the 70s. 3% of single parents households, and now it's half. I think it's 3% to 50. I think that's how people are growing up, and this is gonna be chaotic because the Most High made it this way for a particular reason. If you pull one out of that position, especially more than anything, the father, stats even back this stuff up. If you pull the father out, you have issues, right? So she has both parents in the house, which is a rare thing nowadays, and they raised her in the fear of the law, fear of God, and the law of Moses. Jump back to Sirach. We come right back to Susanna. Jump back to Sirach. I think it's 40. Yep, Sirach 42. Yeah. Sirach 42 in verse 9. It says, the father waketh for the daughter when no man knoweth, and the care for her taketh away sleep. When she is young, lest she pass away the flower of her age, and being married, lest she should be married or she should be hated. So there's a role that mothers play with their daughters. There is a more important, I don't want to say more. By definition, it is the end result. More important, maybe not more important, maybe more impactful. Let's just say that. More impactful, maybe not more important. However you wanted to use that, but probably more impactful. The father, men have this this visceral reaction within themselves. Whether you have a man, because I don't have any kids, but I see how men are with their daughters. I see how men are with women that they care about. They're willing to jump in front of a bullet to die for a woman they care about. Especially, I'm assuming, especially a man for his daughter. Make no mistake about the same thing. A man just feels like it's his duty. You don't have to blink or think about it. I'm going to lay my life down for my girl, for my wife, for my daughter. There's just this innate thing within men that is just programmed in them to move like this. And the scriptures is talking about this is how the Father operates. Like you might even see things in the world like you a guy would know this because he might have even been like this. He might have been a womanizer himself. So he even just knows. But you might have this thing where you'll see even in the world a woman will be more looking at her daughter like the daughter might be like I like this boy. And the mother might be like, what's his name? Is he cute? What do you have class together? Instantly the father's just like, nah, we're not doing this. Whether she be 15, 16, 17, whatever, the father's like, nah, we're not doing this. The first thing he's thinking is, I know how boys are, because it might have been just how I know their nature, or I know how I was. Same thing. That needs that discipline and that laying a law down mentality has to be there because women will fall. They consistently fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Always a slick little thing some dude, some cornball dude said, and be the first ones to get them pregnant and dip. Over and over and over again, you see this cycle, and it rises more and more when the father's not in the household because he's basically the main disciplinary thing. It's the same way you look at the Most High or Christ in the church. You will look at the exact same way. Wait till your father gets home as an expression for a reason, right? That father has to be there. This is how he thinks. He might be rolling around in his sleep, waking up, worrying about what's going to become of his daughter. Who is she? What is the guy that I'm going to give her away to? Is this man going to treat her well? Is she past the flower of her age to where she can't get married? Or when she's married, I hope that she's not hated. It's how a man might think with his daughter. I'm sure, I'm sure Susanna's father the exact same. Excuse me, Susanna's father the exact same way. She's raised up in the fear of the Lord. Parents are there, right? She has this particular mentality that's been instilled in her from the jump. Verse 10, it says, "In her virginity, lest she should be defiled, and gotten with child in her father's house." Same thing I was just mentioning. "And having a husband, lest she should misbehave herself, and when she is married, lest she should be barren. Keep a sure watch over a shameless daughter, lest she make thee a laughing stock to thine enemies, and a byword in the city, and a reproach among the people, and make thee ashamed before the multitude." This might be some things that some women they might know, but they're not as sensitive to it, and maybe they wouldn't be because they're women, they're different. So maybe they're not as sensitive to it, but they need to be, right? Jump back to chapter 7, Sirach chapter 7. This is Sirach 7. Hold on. There's another one I'm looking for. Hold on. It's still good, but it's a different one I'm looking for. Nah, hold on one second. It's a work, but I want a different one. See if I can find it. I'd be mad if I don't. Yeah, there it is. Sirach chapter 22. That's seven works, but 22 is better. Sirach chapter 22 in verse 4. It says, "A wise daughter shall bring an inheritance to her husband, but she that liveth dishonestly is her father's heaviness." So there is a particular weight that men are very equipped with and understand a particular way. Even I'm not going to get into it, but even the concept, I'm not a, don't take misquote me. Neither one of them is good, and I don't support it. And the scriptures don't support fornication. But there is a completely different reaction from a man stepping out and a woman stepping out. They're both bad, but the reactions are different. I'm not going to necessarily dive into that, but it's interesting if you look at questions that are asked after stuff like that from the woman and the man. So there's a reputation that is carried from the man that carries with him. If somebody says, "Yo, your daughter, you're coming to school to drop your daughter off," and she's known around everybody, she slept with the whole football team. There is a different reaction versus the son has slept with all the cheerleaders. It's not good either way, but there is something significantly different between men and women and how the reaction is taken. Women know this. They might not be as sensitive to it because they're not in a man's position. But even the scriptures is saying when stuff like that happens, it makes the father a laughing stock amongst everybody. Same thing with a wife to her husband. Oh, she cheated on you. She slapped you in the face. She's laughing at you. She's disrespecting. People looking at this dude, he's just instantly weak. If a dude hits a woman or acts a certain way, she gets coddled or treated a particular way. They feel sympathy for her. The dude just becomes a laughing stock. It's completely different. So these things with a father in his household has to operate a particular way. That discipline has to be there. Let's go back to Susanna. Susanna, we're in 3. Uh, Verse 3. Her parents also were righteous, and taught their daughter according to the law of Moses. Verse 4. We're not gonna read this whole thing, but just particular parts from it. So, verse 4. Now Joachim was a great rich man and had a fair garden joining unto his house, and to him resorted the Jews because he was more honorable than all others. That again, that man's reputation means a lot. Verse 5. The same year were appointed two of the ancients of the people to be judges, such as the Lord spake of. That wickedness came from Babylon, from ancient judges, who seemed to govern the people. So, no new thing to Israel. You have wicked men that have been carried throughout years, captivities over, whatever. You have these same type of wicked men in that time frame that became judges, or they're in a position they shouldn't be in because their reports are not good. You can't have a person that's pulling punches with judgment. You can't have preferential treatment. But these two guys are wicked, but they're in a seat of authority. Verse 6. These kept much at Joachim's house, and all that had any suits in law came unto them. So Joachim was revered in the community, right? People came to him for judgment, people looking at him a particular way. So he's respected. Obviously, if he's respected in a particular way like this, that people are coming to him for guidance and stuff, his households run well. It has to be. It has to be. Nobody's coming to anybody for no particular advice when their house is completely out of order and chaos. Why would you take financial advice from a guy that's homeless? He might used to be rich, but typically that's not the case. So nobody's going to do something like that, right? Verse 7. Now when the people departed away at noon, Susanna went into her husband's garden to walk. And the two elders saw um her going in every day and walking, so that their lust was inflamed toward her. And they perverted their own minds, and turned away their eyes, that they might not look unto heaven, nor remember just judgments. So I'm I'm not gonna play dumb. Women know this too. I don't know if they understand the full grasp of it either. Let's go back to Sirach 36 and 22. I point this out for a particular reason. Um, women. So that's why it's a very weird scenario. When you, if you have a person that has a match, you really shouldn't bring it around gasoline, right? It's a it's combustible. It's gonna be bad. Repercussions are gonna be bad. Women have this the way men look at like lust and beauty of women. I don't know if women can even comprehend. Women have lust too, right? They have desires sexually, flesh towards men as well. Some out of order in the other direction. They have this too. I don't know if it's. I don't think they can fully comprehend what men go through in the battle of the flesh. I don't, I'll put money on that. I don't think it's close. Um, Men operate completely differently, right? Women usually operate like this off attention. This is the reason why I said it's combustible situation. If the right guy comes along, women can shun all kinds of different dudes. But if he meets the requirements, he can still be a clown. But he speaks a certain way. Women tend to fall for this stuff, right? And they hope for the best. Maybe I can change him. I'm attracted to the bad guy. This happens all the time. Knowing there's no good, then you always wonder like when's the woman's intuition kick in? It doesn't because they don't want it to, but they know deep down this probably the guy I should lay down with, right? I probably shouldn't deal with this guy, but this is just the way he's got the he's got the charm, he's got the riz, the way he talks is just something about him. It's the butterflies in his stomach. That's stupid. It's the reason why you have ancient times. You'll see the father is giving his daughter away. I'm not letting you run out there and pick your husband. Not gonna work like that because 9 times out of 10, it's not a good situation for the sister. It's not. Lust in men, like these two guys with Susanna, right? Sirach 36 and 22. Verse 22 says, the beauty of a woman, it cheereth the countenance, and a man loveth nothing better. Listen, even before I even knew this scripture, this is wholeheartedly 1,000,000% true. The way men struggle with the beauty of a woman, there is a proper reason why the Lord says, women, you have to be modest. There is a reason for that. This is the reason why I said before, you can't have society without order. People think, well, yeah, I wouldn't, if I had my own community, I wouldn't steal. I don't think that's right. Yeah, but listen, I understand that. That seems sensible. But do you understand outside of all that, stealing, whatever, adultery, there's something within people that society will not function correctly if you don't have these godly laws in there. It's the reason why a woman, you'll see things and they'll say they're not thinking, even though they know, because it's that attention grab. They're not thinking. These men, if a dude can't control himself, you're not stronger than this guy. Let you be wobbling at 2 a.m. drunk on cobblestone coming out the bar. If some dude is inclined, he'll grab you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. That's why it's wise to move a particular way in a chaotic place. It's not smart to do that. But then you'll have a lot of women who'll think, I'm a grown woman. I can do it. I pay my own. I can do whatever. I'm like, it's not intelligent to do that. But a lot of them operate this way. But there is a reason why the Most High created Adam first and then created her to be ruled over. This is the reason why these things are done. It isn't just, oh, I'm the God that's got the power of you. I'm telling you what, that's not, it has to work this way or it won't work. So men have this crazy drive for the physical. A lot of women know this. They know the attention they get. They see it on men. They see it. But then they don't think, let me acquiesce to this ridiculous drive this person has, right? Go back to Susanna. Do you see these guys? Not this isn't commendable or right. These dudes are sick. But there's plenty of men out there like that. But there is a reason why you're supposed to operate a certain way. The scriptures even say she's fair. This is a beautiful woman. Men tend to act weird around beautiful women. Same way men act weird around great sums of money. The scriptures say that a man don't love nothing more than a beautiful woman. If women don't believe that, trust me, it's true. Susanna 1 and I'll read 9 again. It says, and they perverted their own mind and turned away their eyes, that they might not look unto heaven nor remember just judgments, because they knew deep down there is a massive struggle within themselves. And they was just like, I know it's bad, but the lust has kicked in, and we're going to see where this is going to take us. And it never gets you to a particular, it's never a great situation, right? Verse 10, and albeit they both were wounded with their love, yet durst not one show another his grief. So they were both hit, but they were ashamed, but inflamed at the same time, but shameful enough they're not going to repeat it to each other. Verse 11, for they were ashamed to declare their lust, that they desired to have to do with her. Yet they watched diligently from day to day to see her, and the one said to the other, let us now go home, for it is dinner time. This is very, like, people would say this is like psychological. It's like James 1. When the scriptures tell you the Most High don't tempt man with sin. A man's only tempted when he's taken. This is the reason why the scriptures talk about the eyes. And it's not phrased that way. But Matthew 6, as I mentioned that earlier, is like that. It's in the same vein of the eye is the light to the soul. The more you consume, the more you become. So these guys was paying attention to all her moves every single day. And as a man, I know what that, you can't beat lust. This junk will whoop you from left to right, up to down. If you entertain it, it's going to get you. You're not going to win. It's like trying to fight a giant. You better run in the other direction or cut yourself off from it, because it's going to get you. And this is what's happening with them. One day turns into 2, turns into 3, and they're watching her every single day. And they're already hit from the jump. Verse 14. So, and they said to each other, and it's crazy to see two guys say this, and they say to each other, let us go home. Let me get out of here. I'm gonna just go this way. I got dinner to eat. And they both saying the same thing, knowing that they're both gonna come back to the same spot. Verse 14. So when they were gone out, they parted the one from the other, and turning back again, they came to the same place. And after that, they had asked one another the cause. They acknowledged their lust. Then appointed they a time, both together, when they might find her alone. So this is escalating now. Verse 15, and it fell out, as they watched a fit time, she went in as before, with 2 maids only, and she was desirous to wash herself in the garden, for it was hot. And there was nobody there to save the 2 elders that had hid themselves and watched her. And then she said to her maids, bring me oil and washing balls, and shut the garden doors, that I may wash me. I can imagine as a guy, it's not going to help nobody. So these guys have plotted out a time to do this, right? And remind you, this is a righteous sister. And they said, verse 18, and they did as she bade them, and shut the garden doors, and went out themselves at privy doors to fetch the things that she had commanded them. But they saw not the elders, because they were hid. Verse 19, now when the maids were gone forth, the 2 elders rose up and ran unto her, saying, behold, the garden doors are shut, that no man can see us, and we are in love with thee. That ain't love, but an interesting phrasing of it. We are in love with thee, therefore consent unto us and lie with us. Now watch how this works. I'll read on. Verse 21. If thou wilt, meaning lie with us, We will bear witness against thee. Excuse me, if thou wilt not, if you don't sleep with us, we're going to bear false witness on you, which is immediate death, right? But they're so inflamed, this is how they're speaking, that a young man was with thee, and therefore thou didst send away thy maids from thee. Well, I'm going to come back to this in a second. So, sleep with us, or we'll yell out and say that we saw a man sleeping with you. Give us the body, or we'll say somebody else had you. Verse 22. Then Susanna sighed and said, I am straitened on every side. For if I do this thing, it is death unto me, and if I do it not, I cannot escape your hands. It is better for me to fall into your hands and not do it than to sin in the sight of the Lord. Intelligent sister, I'm hit. I'm boxed in. Seems like I have no way out. I have one of two choices. I'm going to side with the Lord. That's the only intelligent answers you can give, even to the point of death. Verse 24. With that, Susanna cried with a loud voice, and the two elders cried out against her. Then ran the one and opened the garden door. So when the servants of the house heard the cry in the garden, they rushed in at a privy door to see what was done unto her. So the commotion, she yelled first. The guys started screaming immediately at the same time, because they were like, nah, we ain't about to get caught. Verse 27. But when the elders had declared their matter, the servants were greatly ashamed. So as they hear in this story that the two, remember, these are elders and judges. These guys are telling this story. People hear this because reputation matters. They're ashamed heavily, for there was never such a report made of Susanna, which is the point. We're not going to read all the rest of this. We'll probably end it here. There was never a report of Susanna, right? So, verse 21, right? When they make the claim and they say, either you sleep with us, or we're going to say somebody else slept with you. This should help you to understand. As women, I know they like to fight it tooth and nail. They don't want to hear it. It is what it is. And women know this inherently. It is what it is. They wanted what was most prized to them, right? And this is just fact of the matter for men. I'm pretty confident I can talk for all men. Some might disagree. Generally, men find the female body the most desirable and valuable point. Now I wouldn't say valuable. They're most interested in the beauty of a woman. Physically, they want, like, no, I'll leave that alone. Physically, most men, that's what they're looking for. That sexuality or that chastity is intrinsically tied with a woman's value, and that carries with the reputation. For instance, this is how you can know women know this too. They'll try to fight it, but you'll see when women get arguing, the first thing they'll throw out is she a hoe or she a slut. They'll say these different things because they know it hurts. It carries a different thing. You can't say that same thing to a man that's going to carry the same weight. They don't hit men like that. Two completely different creatures, but one complements the other. But this is the way it works. A lot of women don't want to hear this, and typically they get mad because, everybody's lived a particular life. Most women aren't virgins, right? It's just not a thing nowadays. Unfortunately, they're not. But it would be great to go back to that. Even if my generation or somebody else's generation missed it, it's the reason why these daughters need to be raised up in the law. Because it needs to be this way. Sex ain't something where you just being like, oh, I hit it and dipped. No, these are real. That's why the Lord says these things. There is something detailed about the Most High saying, these two become one. There's something happening there spiritually. This ain't just a ridiculous throwaway physical act. That's ridiculous. It's the reason why women need to protect their womb. Can't be just moving out here all silly and he was attractive and it happened. You might escape. Second might escape. The third girl might escape. The fourth girl get pregnant. She not ready for the kid. what enters the what enters the situation. Now you start to see I can't take care of it. I'm not ready. Abortion comes in. All these different things start sliding down the scale to fix the immediate problem that you put yourself in. But these things are intrinsically tied to each other. So if you haven't, from the quote on from the class picture, right? If you look at the class picture 77 in the Hebrew, the 7799, that term Susa or Shoshana or Susan or Susanna, these things are all the same. That name literally translates to lily, right? Like the flower, lily. It's the reason why we're in Susanna, a lily amongst the thorns. We'll get there in a second. Understand, Susanna has a particular way about her, meaning she's righteous. She is a rare thing. When you look at over the landscape of how the world works today, you ain't finding no sister like that. Like, I'm not saying, okay, let me rephrase that. There are sisters out there, but they are extremely, they're not the common folk. That ain't how this world works. Not the time frame we in. Nah, that ain't working like that. But again, this is why they call this the last days. It wouldn't be like this in the last time. But this is a rare thing. The Lord calls this. First a second Ezra. Go to Second Ezra 5. Yep, Second Ezra 5 in verse 20, 23. And said, O Lord that bears rule of every wood of the earth, and of all the trees thereof, thou hast chosen thee only one vine. Verse 24 is the point. And of all the lands of all of the whole world, thou hast chosen thee one pit, and of all the flowers thereof, one lily. So a lily gets the reference to the Most High. You say the same thing in Matthew 6 about how the beauty of a lily doesn't even work, but it's so beautiful, and it's crazy that it's always highlighted in this particular fashion, because this is a representation. It's showing you how much the Most High has cared for and looks at and uses representation of something that's elevated and held in high regard. It's beautiful, yet it's delicate. You see these things. It's no coincidence that Susanna's name is like this. We had mentioned this last week when we was talking about Tower of Babel. Like, what's the point of the name, right? I mentioned before about Judas Maccabeus. People will be like, oh, his name is a hammer, right? Somebody might name their son that, which is great. But then somebody might not name their son Judas because of the other guy. So it kind of, the Israelites named their children things that had meaning to them, right? Susanna was named this for a particular reason. Same thing with Moses, drawn from the water, right? Same thing with Samuel, asked of God. These things have particular meanings. The Most High is not just attributing these different things and Israelites are moving this way because it doesn't mean anything. The same thing you see Solomon building the temple. Speaking of Solomon talking about women are wicked, Solomon's building his temple. What did he have on the outside? He had lilies for aesthetics. These things make for a particular purpose. They're rare, they're delicate, right? Let's go to Song of Solomon, chapter 2. Song of Solomon, chapter 2. My last nerve. Song of Solomon 2. Verse 1. It says, I am the rose of Sharon, with Sharon, and the lily of the valleys. As the lily among thorns, so is my love among the daughters. Now, this is a very complicated, poetic book, right? But the way this is phrased, there is a consistent changing of the person speaking and the person of the first person. So you might have a situation where you're reading about how it's phrased is Shulamite, the Shulamite wife of Solomon, right? You'll have these interchanging things. Solomon's talking and she's talking. She's talking and Solomon's talking. Nonetheless, this is allegorically this is true and allegorical at the same time. So, for instance, hopefully I'm trying not to confuse you. When we're looking at verse 1, I am the rose of Sharon and the lily of the valleys. As the lily among the thorns, so is my love among the daughters. You'll see this play in the Song of Solomon, and you'll see this correlation purposefully. You'll see this correlation poetically between Christ and the church. The way it's phrased um, in the person of the church or the bride or the woman in verses 1 and 2. This is a lily of the valleys. I am a lily amongst thorns. Out of all the daughters, so is my love amongst all the daughters. So you would look at this in the exact same way. That lily is used in comparison to a beautiful, delicate thing. The church is supposed to be looked at this the same way. The daughters, our sisters, supposed to be looked at this the same way. The bride to Christ, the nation of Israel, all of us working in the same capacity, right? I'm gonna give you a precept. Go back to Sirach. Hopefully that made sense. Go back to Sirach. Back to 39. Sirach chapter 39, verse 12. It says, Yet have I more to say, which I have thought upon. For I am filled as the moon at the full. Hearken unto me, ye holy children, and bud forth as a rose growing by the brook of the field, and give ye a sweet savor as frankincense, and flourish as the lily. Send forth a smell and sing a song of praise. Bless the Lord in all his works. So you'll see this reference used to how the church is supposed to be, how the bride is supposed to be. Sisters are supposed to be this way, right? This rare commodity. A person that cares about the reputation, a person that cares about bringing shame to our Father's house. You see all these different things laid out in the scriptures because this is what the epitome of a woman's supposed to be. But you rarely find that in society today. Rarely. You'll see it working in completely the opposite fashion. Completely the opposite direction. Go to Psalms 118. Psalms 118. Verse 10. Psalms 118 and verse 10. It says, All nations compassed me about, but in the name of the Lord will I destroy them. They compassed me about, yea, they compassed me about, but in the name of the Lord I will destroy them. They compass me about like bees. They are quenched as the fire of thorns. For in the name of the Lord I will destroy them. So this is the same way I was mentioning about the church and the daughters. We're supposed to be operating this capacity. Amongst all the briars and branches and the thorns, a lily is supposed to be amongst these things, held in high regard and a very rare thing. You just can't really find like this stuff like this. And it's crazy because like if you were to say um if you were to say these things to women today, right? If you were to bring this up in a group of women today, this is where you'll have that like that. This is how you can see like that the movement of feminism is unbelievably subversive and powerful in the minds of most women. When you talk to them, their whole character and their whole spirit is we're equal. We're on the same level. I don't need no leader. You can't tell me X, Y, and Z. You don't have no authority over me because I'm not no child. This is the way a lot of women think. And the Most High ain't create women like that at all. If you were to lay this out for women, majority of women nowadays, and be like, look, you understand your sole creation purpose is to be a helpmeet to your husband. You realize that. And they'll be like, I don't believe in that book. That's BS. I got this degree. I got this amount of money. And then you'll just see as that permeates throughout society, what society looks like. Birth rates dropping, nobody's getting married. Women think that they want to, women are acting like men, wanting to get like men, and men are telling women, we don't want you to act this type of way. It's not attractive. You can't deal with me because you weak. All these weird things because nobody playing it, but they don't know their position. They don't know their role. They just bumping heads at each other when they're supposed to compliment each other, right? This is why you always hear that proverbial. You hear it from all the time, even from not avid readers, not a follower of God. Well, I'm the Proverbs 31. Are you? Go there real quick. Proverbs 31. You see if this will see if this will, if you were to repeat this stuff out in society or in the public, see how people, even if you were to call somebody on it, somebody were to say that, because this is thrown around a lot. Person don't even care about the Bible, never even read a chapter, would say, I'm a Proverbs 31 woman, or they'll put it on a post. They'll just throw it out there because most people know, or most women know, that this is the fully evolved form of a woman. And let's look what that woman looks like, right? Proverbs 31, in verse 10. Um, yeah, verse 10. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. Far above rubies. Most people will take a ruby over a woman. Most people will take a Lamborghini over a woman. But the Most High's letting it be written this way in this spirit to let you know the value of a woman like that and the understanding the rarity of it. Because nobody's fine. How many streets have you walked in your life, city, drove, flown, and seen a ruby on the ground? You can't find that, John. You not unless you go somewhere to some jungle or some cave somewhere in a different continent, risk your life for somebody killing you in the Congo. There's your ruby, but you're gonna have to put in dumb work to find it, and you might not come out alive. He's just using this in the reference to show you how rare this type is. Verse 11: the heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. Don't need anything else. That's how good she is. That's how good this type of woman is. I ain't thinking much of anything else. She completes me, makes me that happy. The mind of a man is this way. Verse 12. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. And these things, like, somebody will be like, well, that can be kind of subjective. Like, what do you mean by, like, she's not doing him evil? But these are the prescriptions for helping you to understand what a righteous woman is or a righteous wife is. She's got to have that gift of being malleable because her job is to assimilate to him. Like, if he has the purpose, and that's how God made him, you have to blend seamlessly in and figure out where you fit in would help him. Not this like a woman, because women often say things like, I feel like I'm losing my identity. Women say it all the time. I don't want to be up under him, and then I just lose my. Women say that too. I lose myself in motherhood. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm like, you're fighting against your own creation or natural order. You don't. This is the reason why you'll never see the flip side. And women will be like, look at a man and be like, he's got a job or he's got all this money, he's on his purpose, got businesses and all this other stuff. You'll never see a woman who's being like, you seem like you're losing yourself as a man. They're gonna be like, well, that's the type of man I want because he's biologically engineered like that. But feminism and the nature of society has made women doubt who they are and hate who they are created to be. It's crazy. That's why I said it's so pervasive of a movement that this thing has spanned almost 100 years. And if you trace the origin, it goes right back to occultism. CIA has infiltrated it. None of this stuff started for women's rights. None of it. It had nothing to do with that. Their original writings for feminism was to destroy the nuclear household. That was their goal. Lo and behold, it passed. It's the same way you're jumping out of your role to try to hop into the man's role, which Eve shouldn't have done. It shows you from the jump where everything got jacked up at. Adam should have corrected it, of course. But this shows you this way isn't supposed to be the way. It's not functioning. Society can't function this way. Everything has to revert back to what its natural order is. Verse 14. Verse 13. She seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. Right? I don't know about she shouldn't work. I mean, it's household stuff, but still. Verse 14, she is like the merchant's ships, and she bringeth her food from afar. Interesting. Typically, if you were to hear, you the Proverbs 31 woman, can you cook? I ain't your mama bringing you food. You can fix your own plate. The mentality, right? But again, the flip side is the man's supposed to, you stay here, you work, you protect, you provide. That's your job. That's your job. Listen, women have jobs too. That's why they are supposed to complement each other. It's not about who's mom and who's dad. These things work. The Most High made it this way, right? Verse 15, she riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considereth a field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengthen her arms. I'm not gonna read all this, but it's I'll mention this too. Two more verses here. Verse 23. This kind of goes back to the same thing with Susanna and her family. Her husband is known in the gates, and when he sitteth among the elders of the land. They like this is that woman taking on the last name of a man. Most women say they don't want to do that either. I don't want to do that either. Yeah, I'll hyphenate the last name. So it's like that's why you see like in ancient times the house of Jacob, the house of Abraham, right? The house of Reuben. You don't see these. I'm the father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You don't see the I'm the father of Sarah, Rebecca. You don't see that because the Most High didn't create them for that. Doesn't necessarily mean that they lose their purpose. They are actually extremely important, but in their role, they're glorified in their role. That's why I mentioned earlier about cheetahs. They hunt. They do the same thing as everybody else, but they're known for their speed. Don't you take the speed away? Of course, they can still become hunters, but they're not glorified for that. They're glorified for what they're good at in their position. Same thing, women are glorified. That's why men will say a lot of times it's very attractive for a woman to cook, to watch her cook, to see her interact with the kids. It's the ultimate level of feminine. That's what men are looking for, right? This is the reason because they beautifully complement each other. Verse 26, she openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness, which you rarely see today. Everybody's popping off at the mouth. Women will talk however they want, and they still want to be respected. Like the sister that got drafted, the WNBA, Angel Reese. I don't know if people are familiar with her, but if you're not, look her up. You can type in Angel Reese, and then after you see who she is, type in Angel Reese and Megan Thee Stallion. You'll see like Angel Reese had made this comment when she was in I think it was after she lost to in the tournament, the March Madness tournament in college basketball, right? She made a statement and said that she was crying after she lost, but she made a statement and said, "I've been attacked." This it was the whole racial thing between her and Caitlin Clark, the other white girl that got drafted. She was saying that for this last year, when that happened, when they got into it, the year prior national championship, all this race stuff started. I seen a lot of it, but then a year later, she beats the white girl, and then a year later, she winds up losing to the white girl on her way to the national championship. But she makes a statement and she says, I've dealt with a lot over this last year. People hating me, racist stuff, even being sexualized. I can't stand that. People just treating me like I'm a sex object. Now, this is always fascinating because this is why I said it's a very dangerous situation. The match with the kerosene or the gas. Women often do this. I don't like to be sexually objectified, but yeah, I have an OnlyFans account. Don't treat me like a piece of meat. But yeah, I'll twerk in the street. I'm grown. I I'm pretty sure women are not stupid. Women play dumb. They try to play ignorant a lot of times. They know what they're doing. They're not incompetent, but they try to play it off a lot of times, being like they don't understand the ramifications or what do you mean I can't be respected and I'm a prostitute? That doesn't make any sense. You're saying you don't want to be sexualized, but then the next thing you see her on stage with Megan Thee Stallion at a concert, they're all twerking. She not I don't know if she was twerking, but she's dancing provocatively. Megan Thee Stallion's twerking because that's her life. And then she winds up backing up or her behind on Angel Reese's crotch, lesbian behavior, and she twerking on her while she's dancing it up. In these skimp outfits, and she's done other things since she's been drafted, gotten on these covers of magazines. You know how they do our sisters. That's what they want. They just pushing sex and lust. That's what they do. But then how you take the both positions? I'll do this, but I want to be. You got to respect me. I'm a woman. You shouldn't treat women this way. You shouldn't speak about them this way. But you don't carry yourself that way because it's glorified now, right? And this is the reason why. Let's go to Deuteronomy 22. This is the reason why I mentioned this earlier. Deuteronomy 22, about the sexuality being in chastity, being in tandem with the woman's reputation and how society sees her, especially men. Verse 13. Deuteronomy 22 and 13. If any man take a wife and go in unto her and hate her, and give occasions of speech against her, and bring an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid. Now, why would he can say anything to hate her, right? You see like an example of this in Deuteronomy 24. If he hates her, any little thing he can come up with. But he chose specifically to say, because he ain't want her no more. So the immediate impact he can have is attack the chastity. It's the first thing he goes after, because the Lord says no daughters in Israel are supposed to be a whore. That ain't supposed to happen. That carries a lot of weight. That's the first thing he's looking at to break this thing apart. I don't want to be with her no more. The first thing I can attack is her chastity, her sexuality. She's been around. I don't want to be your wife no more. I don't want to be your husband no more. It's the first thing he attacks. Now, interestingly enough, the Lord knows this, but this is the reason why. I'm going to jump down to verse 15. I'll read it out. Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take her and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity into the elders of the city in the gate. Now, this is not to remove the fact that men shouldn't be promiscuous either. That's not a thing either. Men ain't supposed to be running around being whoremongers either. But again, we both know the impact, at least eyesight from society or how the reputation carries itself, is different. It's different. Verse 16. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hath hated her. And lo, he hath given occasions of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity, and they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city, because Israel has this custom where they did this, the blood will get on the sheet. They have this safekeeping. If anything like this happens, which would shoot you if you are familiar, this will shoot you to the birth of Christ. Same thing. Everybody try to talk you in circles around Christ and have no father. It's madness. But it'll shoot you to the same thing. If a man were to say something like that, we got proof she was a virgin. Now watch this. Verse 18. And the elders of that city shall take that man and chastise him. This man, verse 19, and they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he hath brought up an evil report on a virgin of Israel. She shall be his wife. He may not put her away all his days. You can't get rid of her. Now, interestingly enough, even the Lord knows how important this is. You say something like this, you getting beat. They physically harm you for bringing an evil report on a sister's chastity like that. These things are very important. They carry mad weight. So even the scriptures know this stuff. If you're not disciplined over that type of woman, if you don't do these different things that have a woman in high regard and she doesn't respect herself like that, she becomes a product the same of this system. It's the same way you're looking at those two become one. Sisters are heavily influenced by what they hear. Heavily. And if you're not having a watchful eye over a woman, if she's growing up without a father, if she's in this type of capacity and it's like, there is no end of where that reputation is going to go, because it's going to be looked at in a particular way. She's susceptible. Go back to Sirach. She's susceptible to become this. Where's that at? Sirach. This might be 7. No. Sirach 26. And Sirach 26 and 9. It says, the whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and her eyelids. Here comes back to the modesty, right? If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. Too much being a friend, not putting boundaries on her. She's going to use that because if she's not being ruled over, she's susceptible to become the same way Eve wandered off. The exact same thing. Verse 11. Watch over an impudent eye. Watch over an impudent eye, and marvel not if she trespasses against you. Don't think this is chaotic. You see examples. I've seen them. Daughters are just do what they want. Don't marvel at it. You're supposed to make sure you're doing what you're doing, but ultimately you can't hold nobody and pin them down and stuff, especially when they get older. Verse 12. She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he have found a fountain, and drink of every water near her, and by every hedge will she sit down and open her quiver against every arrow. So it's simply saying that she's going to become the town bicycle. If you don't reel her in like this, because you look at that's why I said before, look at society. Look at how a lot of these women are nowadays. This is what it's become, right? You have women that don't care about how many people they've been with. You have women that talk about I slept with 25, 30 men before I even hit 19. This is like the norm now. It's crazy. People ain't get there. It's like they were talking about the average 18-year-old has more bodies than a 50-year-old woman. That's insane. That's insane. But these are the last days. Completely out of order. On steroids. That's what it looks like. But it's acceptable here because this is the Twilight Zone. Yo, shalom, play most high Christ bless me. Happy Sabbath, bro. So remember, the Lord said a shameful woman, she's comparable to a dog. Even in the dietary law, you give the carcasses to the dog. The Lord said that's what a woman is, that's shameless. And you've gotten to the point where the nature of it. Go to Romans 1 real quick. Romans chapter 1. I don't mean to make this as long. Romans chapter 1. Let's get to the point. Verse 24. It says, wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their bodies between themselves. Who changed the truth of God into a lie and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause God gave them up into vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. Now, usually often we use this, kind of speed this up. Let's go to Proverbs 30. Usually we use Romans 1, which is fair. We use Romans 1 in the fact of looking at the natural use of a woman and the natural use of a man. Obviously, there's some nature there, natural nature. They both have a purpose, right? If you flip it on its head, then the natural use is gone. But also look at it from the spirit. If the natural use is flipped and it's gone, that person has to have a particular spirit, right? A woman that becomes a lesbian got a particular spirit on her, right? People will say like these things are, oh, it's just love is love. Sex is not that serious. There's no way you're gonna convince me that a woman that's a virgin, her mind operates the same way as a woman that's been 10 years in porn. No, not even close. It's not the same thing. Sex is not some just meaningless thing you just throw away. It doesn't matter. It has no effect on anybody. It kind of is what it is, right? The natural use of a woman, right? Look at this real quick. Proverbs 30, verse 15. It says, the horse leech hath 2 daughters, crying, give, give. There are three things that are never satisfied. Yea, four things say not, it is enough. So there's three things that's never satisfied, right? The grave, obviously, because there's new names in the obituaries every day. Never satisfied is like it can't. It's not gonna be full. It's just people die every day. The grave, we'll come back to it. The barren womb, the barren womb, the womb that doesn't have a child. uh, the earth that is not filled with water, and the fire that saith not is enough. So the earth, rain, rivers, lakes, oceans, constantly getting water, but just never consumes itself in water, right? Let's talk about it's never satisfied. The water can keep coming. It's as if the earth just drinks it up, but just never gets. It's like a vampire taking on blood, but just never gets full. The fire, obviously, the more it runs to, the more it consumes. It never goes out. Fire just consumes, 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 consumes. But the point is the barren womb. Those that Romans 1, a woman that changes her natural use. Because you would think of all things, right? One thing that is akin to women is that nature or nurture part of her that just loses it over children, right? Like they have, just like the men have this visceral reaction to a man putting, another man putting his hands on a woman that a man cares about. You ready to die, go to war for it. The same way that women react with their children, right? They have this care for them like you probably can't really match, right? That relationship's crazy. But nowadays, in the last days, the thing is so out of order, and you'll see like today, you would think the woman have like, of course she would put her child over anything. The barren womb, you'll see Rachel or Hannah. You see these situations where sisters couldn't get pregnant, and they were so upset, right? Sarah, they were so upset when they wanted to bring forth a child for their husband. It's what they wanted. They desired it deeply. Nowadays, in these last days, and it's been so bad, women want to be men so bad. They want to switch positions so bad. They want to have sex indiscriminately, obviously. And then they're, because their career is not that big of a deal. It's my body. There's their feminism again. Just so pervasive. It's my body. I'll just kill the kid. I don't care. He's in my womb. It's my body. It's just you bring the scientists along. They say what woman needs to hear. That you phrase it correctly. Women will follow you off a cliff. Don't worry. It's not a child. It's just a clump of cells. Don't worry about that. Just get rid of it, and then it's as if it never happened. As if you're not a murderer. No, you're a killer. You killed your own child. But even women, you would think that nature is gone from them. Majority of women nowadays, our women are number one in abortion. Across the board for all women, they're number one at the top that kill the most kids. That's why they'll have these little, and it's sad, but it's true. You'll have these phrases where they'll say things like the most dangerous place for a black child is in the mother's womb. It's crazy, but it's true. And that plays into the fact of the father not being there and all this chaos and this craziness that keeps coming up. So that the motherly instinct is just gone. Even that in itself. This is why we're talking about something like a sister like Susanna. Such a rare breed nowadays. You're not going, by God's graces, you'll find it. I don't want to keep saying that like as if it's not there. It is there. Most High directs the friendships, but it's so rare. It's unbelievable, right? So a woman, 1 Timothy 5. Let's go to 1 Timothy 5. And this is the reason why I said before is you have this repeated so many times like, oh yeah, I'm a Proverbs 31 woman. It's just like that entails you spending a lot of time looking after your husband and catering to his needs. Women don't do that, but they like the tag though, because it sounds like that is I'm that type of, I'm the upper echelon of all women. But then when you embody the acts and emotions that come with that title, they don't want nothing to do with that. They're looking at the life completely different than what I'm. Proverbs 20. It's like the person will say I'm a gay Christian. They don't make any sense. Those don't mix. It's the same thing on Proverbs 31, but yeah, I got OnlyFans and I sell feet pics. No, it doesn't work. 1 Timothy 5 in verse 9. It says, let not a widow be taken into the number under 60 years old, which is 60, having been the wife of one man, well reported of for good works, if she have brought up children, if she have lodged in strangers, if she have washed the saints' feet, if she has relieved the afflicted, if she have diligently followed every good work. So this is just talking about a woman that's a widow we're supposed to look after. Like this is how we have communities set up. This is the way you want to have like, I don't know, you look at the hospices, but you would have family looking after family, right? Or even if it's not immediate in the church, you would have things set up where you would have in place you could take care of older women, but they would have to be a certain age or whatever. But these are the well-reported things of these righteous women, right? They did these things. They had these things to their name, to their report. It was well spoken of, right? This is the reason why we mentioned in Susanna, everybody was so ashamed when they heard the elders say she had slept with somebody because there's been no report of her like that. Verse 11, but the younger widows refuse. Don't put them on this list. These widows to take care of. The younger widows refuse. For when they have begun to wax wanton against Christ, they will marry, meaning the commitment will not be as strong for them. They will be in their youth and in their sexual desire to want to remarry. Verse 12, having damnation because they have cast off their first faith, and withal they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers also, and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, and give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully, because again, they are a different breed. Women are different than men. They have to be dealt with differently. 1 Peter chapter 3. Almost done. 1 Peter chapter 3. And this is the reason why he's making that statement. If they're idle, they don't have anything, they're going to roam, they're going to talk. You see a lot of women doing that nowadays. It's like they made TV shows out of this stuff. The housewives and also the crazy crap. They made a living off of this stuff, right? 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 6. It says, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters ye are, as long as ye do well, and are not afraid with any amazement. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to the knowledge. According to the knowledge. Why? Because you have to lead her. Giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered, as you dwell with her as knowledge, as unto the weaker vessel. That's said with a purpose and a meaning, because we're not the same, right? So if we're both, 1 Thessalonians 4, watch this, 1 Thessalonians 4, some of you might have that precept there. 1 Thessalonians 4 and I'm going to read 3 and 4. 1 Thessalonians 4 and 3. It says, for this is the will of God, even your sanctification, that ye should abstain from fornication, that every one of you should know how to possess his vessel in sanctification and honor. The Lord said you're supposed to understand how to carry yourself. Even Paul was saying you're supposed to do that when I'm here and when I'm gone. More so when I'm gone, right? It's easy to kind of operate when people are in the room looking at you. But you could become a different person when, nobody's there to kind of check your moves and stuff. But you're supposed to understand how to possess your vessel in sanctification and in honor, right? Well, we're vessels, right? Men are vessels. But the Lord specifically, we're looking at this specifically, or Peter, I should say. Doesn't matter, still in the same spirit. The women are the weaker of the vessel. They're not equal, so there's something different about them. Not less important, completely different though, right? Complementing each other. So a man has to understand that. That's his position. Even what Solomon was saying from the jump, I've looked at all these different things because Solomon dealt with a lot of women. I've seen all these different things and I found nothing more bitter than a woman. Not that type, not Susanna, right? Not a Sarah, at her moments. Not a not a Hannah, right? Not a Rebecca. He's talking about these women that like one will be these type of adulterers. The one of the Lord, even Solomon was talking about. If you have a woman like this, if it's a man of God, he can escape, but the sinner gonna be caught. That evil woman is gonna be given to a portion of wicked man. They're gonna find each other. And if this man can't control himself, you need to understand what traps these women set and the way that they operate will try to shame you out of being a leader, try to shame you out of being in a position that God called you to be. You can't do this. You ain't got no authority over this. That's going to destroy the house. If you follow that and then marry a woman like that, the household's going to be no good. Especially the way that a woman would operate. And then you have these loose laws with divorce and all this other crazy stuff, man. A man is only, he's put in a position of authority, but that authority is only good if he can use it. He can't execute the authority. You can just run to a white man and do something to dissolve the marriage or take your kids away. Ain't nothing you can do. So brothers, even if brothers in that position, you better heavily vet these women that you're dealing with. And women need to understand, because I know nowadays, especially with men and women, we don't necessarily have the greatest examples to kind of look up to. You're looking at celebrities. I mentioned Megan Thee Stallion, stupid, sexy red, and all this other crazy stuff. And they're glorifying this stuff, and it's again permeating heavy throughout society. So these things, people take on these spirits and they think this is normal. They get to the point so much where they're so removed from the nature of how the Most High made them that they start to act in opposite of what they're supposed to do. And I've told you earlier, that's supposed to be, you're supposed to see that these are red flags, heavy red flags. Women shouldn't be running no household or telling you what to do. It shouldn't. It's for the health of the marriage. It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work because ultimately, when it falls, the Most High gonna look at you like He looked at Adam. What were you doing? What were you? Why'd you follow that? Why'd you listen to Eve? I never told you. That's not how I made y'all. One's supposed to complement the other, right? Let's close out. 1 Corinthians 11. 1 Corinthians 11 and 8. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. For this cause ought the woman to have power on her head because of the angels or the messengers. Men. So the authority set up in a particular way, and then you have, which is a beautiful thing, because you should have like women should aspire to be like that lily among the thorns. A woman should aspire to be like these type of sisters because it's rare, few and far between, and it's a difficult process, especially in the type of atmosphere, the environment we live in today, where none of these things are glorified. They're actually downplayed. Like motherhood is, you're a clown because you didn't go get the bag, as they always say. You didn't do this. Oh, you wanna cook for him? You wanna cook for that nigga? Why you doing that? that's how, that's how the mentality is nowadays. You're not supposed to have that thought process. God called you to a greater goal, and you can do different things. Again, like the cheetah in this, I'll say it again. Like the cheetah is known for the speed. Of course, he's cool to be able to go hunt. Of course, he's a majestic animal. Nobody care. We know the cheetah for the speed. It's the same thing for a woman. Of course, she can get her own money. Of course, she can take care of a kid. Of course, she can do a lot of different things. Most people don't care. The Most High wants you in the position He puts you in because that's the highest level you can glorify to be glorified to be in your position. You might have damn trans men, or excuse me, it's a flip side of it. That's gonna be so confusing. Trans woman having a heavy bench press. Okay, you a man. You're not glorified in the position of acting like a woman. You need to be a man. That's your highest calling. That's important. That's intrinsic to the value of the creation and the position that the Most High puts you in. That's great when you're called to be a man and a man of God. Same thing with the sisters. When you are called to be a lily among the thorns, a righteous sister in a capacity of madness and promiscuity and OnlyFans and prostitution and all these different things that women are falling for these traps for because they watching the media and they have all these looking up to these chicks that selling their body for all kinds of different things and then expect a man to look at them the same way they look at some everyday going church girl. Doesn't make any sense. This is the order the Most High created these things in, and these are the things that sisters should aspire to be. So I did not, I did not mean to go this long, but so be it. Um, I hope it helped. Hope it made sense. Uh, um, keep watching. If you're not paying attention, you should have been. Like, I had a conversation with a brother the other day about. He's like, "What do you?" He's asking me, he was like, "How much time do you think we got left?" And I was like, I don't know, bro. I mean, scriptures don't tell you. It tells you what it's going to look like. Like like Daniel and Daniel 5, like the writing is on the wall. No, that was Mene, something like that. The kingdom is over. It's there. Every piece is there. We don't know the day. But nonetheless, don't be so concerned about Christ coming back. Be concerned about your last day. You don't know. So make sure that your spirit's together because the Most High is still controlling everything. Things look chaotic, but this is the systematic process of the Most High removing Esau from his position of power for once and for all. Thank God. Hopefully, we can make it to the other side because I know I'm sick of this place. Um, so keep watching the news. A lot of stuff is going on. Just stay kind of abreast of these situations. Stuff is passing every day. More and more information is coming out of stuff like I'm not mention the name. I don't know what they might do to some. He's always watching something. But there's a lot of different things that we've always held the belief to certain things, and these things are coming out. The BS and the stuff that they put in the media for so long. But again, it is the what's that? Daniel 12. Um, Knowledge shall run to and fro. It's like we're having that. Um, all the lids are being cracked on all the safekeepings, and the people getting exposed with the Diddy and all these other sick people on the Hollywood and all this other crazy stuff people been doing for a career. Stuff is insane, man. But it brings a whole nother level and understanding to the world is given to the hand of the wicked. I mean, I knew it was true, but I didn't know the depths of it. But we're getting more acquainted with it every day. So Lord's will next time. Happy Sabbath. Um, yeah. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless y'all. Stay blessed.